Very warm welcome to the show. Now, presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu, has announced Senator Kashim Shettima as his running mate, saying he is the man who can help bring the best governance to all Nigerians, regardless of their religious affiliation. He's chosen him as a support. Now, Tinubu told journalists after meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari in Daura, Katsina State, that there's a need to place competence in governance above religious sentiments. According to him, Shettima's career in politics and beyond shows that he's eminently qualified not only to deliver the all-important electoral victory in 2023, but also to step into the shoes of the office of vice president. Now, the nomination of Shettima, who is of the Muslim faith, to join Tinubu, who is of the Muslim faith, also is now generating uproar among party members and Nigerians, though there's a South-North balance on the APC presidential ticket.
We had a very good period of the season, this time of the year, and to really pay homage to him and then share part of his
All right, presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Tinubu there. And joining us to look at these issues is Larry Esin, who is one of the foundational leaders of the All Progressives Congress and the APC governorship aspirant in Akwa Ibom State in the last primaries. He's also a former national chairman of the Progressives People's Alliance, PPA, which was formerly one of the top political parties in the country. And of course, we'll be taking a look at the Akwa Ibom issues together. So good to have you join us, Larry. Now, let's have your views about this announcement. I'm very sure you are feeling the political temperature within your party with the announcement of Shettima. What's your view about it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate our presidential candidate and Senator Shettima, and also the APC for eventually getting this done and over with. At this point in time, there's definitely going to be arguments on, or reactions, so to speak, on both sides of the argument. Those who are for and those who are against. But what's most important, I believe, is the wish of the electorate, the wish of the Nigerian people. And it shouldn't be the wish or the reaction of any one individual or any one group that should matter. And so in saying that, I am sure that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu must have gauged the expectations and the wish of the Nigerian people in making that decision. And if that gauge is accurate, then he has made the right decision. The truth of the matter is that the ordinary man on the street today in this country cares about three major things: being able to put food on the table for his or her children, a roof over their heads, and clean clothes on their backs, and security of their lives and property. I think that's the most important issue. We should not make religion an issue in our polity. The biggest challenge we face in this country, if I'm sure you'd agree with me, is that of employment of our youth. Our economy is suffering from low productivity, and the religion of a candidate has no bearing on their ability to lift up that segment of our workforce so that we can increase productivity within that segment of our workforce. So religion should not play any factor whatsoever. It's the competence of the people that we're interested in. So again, I congratulate the presidential candidate and his running mate and the APC for having scaled this hurdle.
Yeah, and the Christian Association of Nigeria is already, smoking hot, and it says that there's a lack of inclusivity in your party, the APC, and the APC is taking Nigerians for granted, including voters. Don't you think this may affect your electoral fortunes as a party in 2023?
I think those that are taking Nigeria for granted are those that believe that religion will play an issue in deciding the competence of those who will lead us. Those are the people that are taking Nigerians for granted. The ordinary Nigerian is quite astute and intellectual and intelligent enough to realize that it doesn't matter. Religion has no bearing whatsoever on one's capacity to govern and to rule this country. So they are the ones that are taking advantage of the people, and not, the religion or the faith of any of the aspirants or the candidates.
Okay, just before we move into the issues of Akwa Ibom now and the challenges there, one of the major challenges we have as a country is that of religious tolerance. And here you have a presidential candidate from the south, but as of the Muslim faith being challenged by this very crucial decision. Now, he is saying that competence was at the heart of his decision making. Tell us, is there no any other competent northerner who is a Christian or a minority Christian that your candidate would have picked in the north?
Oh, I'm sure that there are many of them. And all of them would be part of this campaign. Being on the ticket or not being on the ticket doesn't mean that you're not qualified. I'm sure there were many people that were qualified. In the final analysis, the candidate had to pick the person that he can work best with, the person that can best deliver what we need, and which is victory at the polls. So let's not make this an issue of religion over capacity, because that's not the issue. I think what we need to focus on is the competence of the ticket. As Bola Tinubu has proven during his tenure as governor of Lagos State, and I think no one will argue with the fact that his transition program in Lagos was the best transition of his set as governors. And so today you have Lagos State being one of the safest states in the country and then one of the most progressive states in the country. So you add his competence to that of Senator Shettima. I think that's a winning team. But having said that, Nigerians are going to be gauging that competence from here up to the elections in February of next year. So let's not make religion an issue here. I'm sure there's so many qualified Northern Christians that we could have picked from, and they'll all be part of a cabinet. And in the final analysis, it is not the president and the vice president that will run the country. You're going to have a cabinet, okay, of very qualified people of all faiths that are going to be part of that cabinet. And it'll take that team to deliver the expectations of the Nigerian people, not just two individuals.
Okay, interesting analysis indeed. Well, we'll now move on to Akwa Ibom State now, where the crisis in the Akwa Ibom State chapter of the All Progressives Congress continues to linger, with the party not having a governorship candidate and one senatorial candidate after primaries were conducted outside provisions of the Electoral Act and guidelines by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The electoral body has now asked those affected to go to court, including aggrieved parties with similar cases across the country, to seek legal redress. And we've seen lots of protests against the resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, Mike Igini, people calling for his removal, others calling for his stay and all of that. And I come back to you again. Larry, what exactly is the problem with your party in Akwa Ibom? You were a governorship aspirant there.
Well, the problem is a very simple one. I think certain individuals are trying to complicate the problem. It is one of disgruntled individuals within the party who are challenging the Electoral Act. It has nothing to do with Mike Igini. Mike Igini as an individual does not have the powers to deny anyone of their rightful victory in any of the elections that we've held. What we have is a disgruntled, as I said, set of people with the Electoral Act or with INEC. Take Mike Igini out of the equation. It is between the laws of the land, the Electoral Act, and certain individuals. And so to bring it down to the level of personalities, of Mike Igini against us, I think is to demean our democracy. Okay, let's show a little bit more respect for our democracy. Now, what happened in Akwa Ibom was a gross disregard of the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act is very clear in Section 285, okay, that if you want redress of any of these issues, you go to court, okay? And Section 84(1) of the Electoral Act is clear, okay, which is that all primary elections shall be monitored by INEC. It did not say may be monitored by INEC. The Electoral Act says that primaries shall be monitored by INEC. The primary in question was not monitored by INEC. And so it was in violation of the Electoral Act. And so let's not make this an issue between an individual, Mike Igini, and some individuals between my party, because it is not. Okay. And so the election wasn't observed. And then 8413 of the same Electoral Act gives INEC the power and the authority to transmit the names that emerged from a primary which they had observed in 84-1, okay, as candidates for that particular office. And so INEC is exercising its powers under the law, under the Electoral Act, the 2022 Electoral Act. It has nothing to do with Mike Igini. Okay, so let's not bring it down to that level. It is between the INEC, between the Electoral Act, and those that disagree with the law.
And now, INEC has said that whoever is aggrieved should go to court. That's a clear directive to people like Senator Godswill Akpabio and all of that. And considering that some of these cases are in court, you yourself went to court, and there are several cases in court. Why would people like you be in that party with your experience as a former national chairman of a political party, and then the APC would not have a governorship candidate in Akwa Ibom State?
Well, to begin with, I did not go to court. Two other aspirants went to court. What I did was I filed a petition, which was a sworn affidavit, to the leadership of the party. But to answer your question, I think, unfortunately, we as a party, I'm not going to say any individual in the party, have allowed ourselves to be misled by certain individuals. You know, our democracy is still evolving. Some people tend or have allowed themselves to be left behind in that process. The current Electoral Act is very clear. And if you understand and you read the Electoral Act, the mistakes or the attempts by certain individuals to skew the process in a direction that suits them, there'll be no need to do that. And so such people have been left behind, unfortunately. Now, we're in transition from where we were in 2019 to where we are now in 2022. And so I would hope that all of these individuals come on board and be part of that transition and understand that our electoral process is maturing and evolving. And my advice to the party is to do everything within its powers to make sure that we are on the side of the Electoral Act. Okay, we have to do everything within our power. I am not sure we still have time in the days and weeks that's left for the party to file a candidate that will be acceptable and in adherence of the Electoral Act to INEC. But we have a situation now, even with the State House of Assembly seats. The 23 or so State Assembly seats have not been filled in Akwa Ibom. And here we are going into a general elections. The hunt of this dilemma is that a presidential candidate may find it difficult, okay, to win a state that we should have won easily because of the greed of certain individuals within our party in Akwa Ibom. Okay, so that is my concern, is the impact that this situation is going to have on Senator Bola Tinubu, okay, and that ticket in Akwa Ibom. Akwa Ibom is a state that we could easily have won. And so we would urge the party to take steps at the very least accepting the names of those House of Assembly candidates that came through the process that was observed by INEC,
okay,
at the very least, so that we can go into the field and campaign well for our presidential candidate.
So in other words, let's be very clear. What you are saying is that the accusations of bias laid against INEC in Akwa Ibom State should be pushed aside. So if that is the case, then what are the reconciliation efforts being put in place between the Ekanem and Intukekpo factions in the party?
Well, yes, I say that those allegations should be pushed aside because they are wrongly placed. If anyone is aggrieved, they should go to court, okay? And the court will interpret the law and hopefully will resolve that issue. There's time for reconciliation within the APC in Akwa Ibom. And, you know, we have to be open and transparent in that process. Let us begin the process. I had advised the National to, first of all, call a meeting of all the key players in our party in Akwa Ibom. Let's sit down around the table and resolve our differences. No one individual can deliver a state to any party in any election. If any such person exists, then they're lying. It doesn't happen. You're going to need a group of people coming together. Okay, even I couldn't deliver my entire federal constituency, which is made up of one tribe, the Oron people. Okay, and how much more a state that is made up of 3 to 5, ethnic nationalities. So we need to all come around and sit down as a party, as a family, and there's no time. That has to be done almost immediately.
Okay. And let's talk about the role of individuals in Akwa Ibom State APC. Is it that there are too many powerful forces there? Because, I mean, we had the National Secretary, the former interim National Secretary of the party, Senator John Akpan Udodoye, in the party before he had to leave out of anger. And, of course, Senator Godswill Akpabio, and people like yourself, who has been a former national chairman of a major political party, and so many others. Is it because many of you have a lot of alliances with Abuja? That's why it becomes difficult to control a lot of elites. There's no elite consensus within the APC in Akwa Ibom State, because everybody knows a Buhari or knows the national chairman, Abdullahi Adamu, or knows the VP or something like that.
Well, I think it's a combination of many factors. Some of it, of course, has to do with misrepresentation of your strength in Abuja, I mean, which is typical of most politicians. You know, we always feel that nothing can happen without us, whereas the truth is that, as I said earlier on, no one individual can deliver a state in an election. It is not possible. And in addition to that, I think Abuja has also played a role in what's happening in Akwa Ibom. There has to be some fact-checking. You know, when I come to Abuja and say to the national chairman, oh, Larry Esin can deliver Akwa Ibom, pick up the phone and call certain people in Akwa Ibom and find out. Investigate. What are the dynamics between this group of people, the relationship between this group of people? If you look at the history of the relationship between most of our politicians or the so-called, our leaders, our political leaders in Akwa Ibom, you would understand that, there might be a reason why, certain people may not be able to work together. And that's a fact. And so the party in Abuja should have spent a little bit more time in investigating and fact-checking what we, the politicians, come to Abuja to tell them. And that way you'll come up with, a solution or a system that will first and foremost respond to the interests of a party, because that's the most important thing. My interest is secondary to the interest of a party and to the interest of the state. Okay, now we find ourselves in a situation where we don't have enough time to get all of these issues resolved, and that's a shame.
And Godswill Akpabio is being accused of being the person at the center of all of these challenges and allegations that he imposed Akan Udofia on your party members. What's the state of Akpabio right now in the midst of all of this? Has he been approaching leaders like you to sort of try to reconcile, since it's clear to him now that the party seems to be going nowhere with the directives by INEC?
Well, I think it would be unfair to point a finger at one man. I think there's enough blame to go around to everybody, and this is not the time really to be pointing fingers. I have not spoken with Senator Akpabio since May 26th, but I think it's important that the national should step in and bring everybody together. And as I said, it's not the time to be pointing fingers. There's enough blame to go around. To everybody. So what we should focus on now is on how to unite the party, to bring the party together. We have a great opportunity ahead of us. We have a very good candidate that needs to be successful in Akwa Ibom, and it will take all hands to be on deck for that to happen. That should be the objective, and not pointing fingers as to who did what or who didn't do what. It's unfortunate that we may not have a governorship candidate. I was hoping that we would. I, for one, this is my fourth run for the governorship in Akwa Ibom. I believe that I have what it takes to unite our party and to lead the state and to win the election. I'm sure my other colleagues would feel the same about their candidacy. So we had quality candidates, quality aspirants running. But it's unfortunate. All we have left now is to see how we can put our house together and deliver the state at the presidential elections.
Now, as we try to round off this conversation, we saw Senator Godswill Akpabio stepping down for Bola Tinubu at the presidential primary election here in Abuja. And of course, a lot of Nigerians may want to think that that may lead to Bola Tinubu appointing him as his lead ambassador, as his lead marketer in Akwa Ibom State. If that happens, will all of you be able to rally around and Akpabio, at least if not because of him, but because of the presidential candidate and your party?
I think it takes a bit more than stepping down at a presidential primary to be worthy of the leadership of a party at the state level. I don't know if you're also aware, Akwa Ibom didn't have any delegates in that primary. Our delegates did not go through accreditation, and so there was really nothing to bring to the table to Senator Tinubu. But having said that, it was nice to see Akpabio stepping down, realizing that he couldn't go any further. But it takes more than just stepping down at the presidential primary to be worthy of leading and delivering the state. As I said earlier on, it will take a lot more than one individual to do that. And I know Senator Bola Tinubu is an intelligent man, he's an astute politician, and he knows that it will take more than one individual to achieve that.
And what will you say, lastly, to Mike Igini, the resident electoral commissioner, considering that there's a petition against him at the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation by the APC, your own party?
I would, first of all, commend Mike for his forthrightness and for his commitment to the development of democracy in this country. We need more Mike Iginis in the system. The INEC of today will turn out to be the saving grace for our democracy. So I commend him, and I pray that he stands steadfast by the law. This is not an issue between Mike or any individual, as I said earlier on. Mike represents an institution of the law, and he should continue to do that. And I hope that the leadership of the management of INEC will recognize the good work that he's doing in Akwa Ibom and continue to give him all the support.
All right, we must thank you so much, Larry Esin, who is leader of the All Progressives Congress in Akwa Ibom State, and of course nationally, having been a member of a foundational leader of the All Progressives Congress Board of Trustees, which later transformed into the National Advisory Council, and of course he was a governorship aspirant of the APC in Akwa Ibom, and of course a former national chairman of the Progressive People's Alliance, PPA, one of the former top parties in the country.